This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
Just 1 second. Cool. Give it a second. Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast. I'm so happy to have you.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have. I know we connected over the summer, and I'm really happy to. I love sharing and connecting with creators and influencers, and really passionate about personal development and success. And so I'm happy to dive into the conversation.
Yeah, it's a funny story how me and Chris met. I went on vacation with my girlfriend to San Francisco. I got an Airbnb. I didn't know that my Airbnb was shared with multiple people. And when we walked in, Chris was there, and I was like, oh, like I thought this was just for myself. But Chris was a really cool guy. We had a nice conversation. He was eating some pizza. And then turns out that he's into content creation, into financial freedom, into all of this cool stuff. So it was just serendipity at its best.
Yeah, really love. Yeah, just that Airbnb was special because it just brought a lot of entrepreneurs and digital creators and nomads together in the same space. And that place was really special for the summer.
Yeah, I specifically picked the Airbnb because the lady was into yoga, into spirituality. There was yoga mats. When we got there was cool books on stoicism, Ryan Holiday, just a bunch of like spirituality books. So I was like, this is like the perfect Airbnb in San Francisco for me. I don't know if all the Airbnbs are like that, but she was cool. I loved it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So to dive deep, first off, Chris, can you share with the audience kind of your origin story, your backstory into, I know you have a financial freedom podcast. Can you dive deep into that, in who you are and what's your story?
Yeah. I grew up in Texas, and my parents, I'm son of immigrant parents, and they came here and to set the stage, Asian culture, and you either become a doctor, a dentist, lawyer, engineer, some professional, high income. And so I'm on the cusp of Gen X and a millennial. I grew up during that era that there was we had telephones, you had Blockbuster, all these things. The internet came when I was around 18. Back then, the mantra was go to school, get good grades, get a good education, get a good job, save, invest, retire early. And then all of that changed when the internet came, and it really changed after 2000. The main turning points for me were like 9/11, all these corporate scandals with Enron, WorldCom, these CEOs, and the financial crisis, and then COVID, obviously. So those are what the hallmarks of my generation. And it really taught us to not really trust institutions, and taught us not to trust traditional ways of thinking. So I got caught up in all this. I was in the rat race, got into med school, became a doctor, very unhappy. I really hated the corporate setting. I really did not like taking orders from white individuals, to be frank and honest, and I didn't really trust them. And so I started saving a lot of my income and investing it, and learning about financial freedom, learning about stocks and equities, and trying to buy back my freedom so I didn't have to go to a job. I was always trying to figure out ways to fire my job and to fire my boss, so I could be my own creator. Long story short, age 29, I was able to get financially free, and then eventually I was able to quit my job, and I started traveling the world, meeting individuals such as yourself, and meeting just influencers, people just on the cutting edge, YouTubers, Instagram influencers, casters, public speakers, people really making a difference, entrepreneurs, starting companies, creating world-class cultures, teams, changing the world. When those things come to mind, it's like Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, all those things. And so I decided to become an influencer myself. And originally it was by speaking and consulting, coaching, and eventually during COVID, when the whole world shut down, I started a podcast, and that was just to buy my time. And by the time the world opened back up, my podcast had grown significantly, hundreds of thousands of downloads. And so that's this year and last year, I really decided to double down on that. And it's been really awesome. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Chris, that's like a beautiful
Yeah.
story. What I resonated with was how the mantra back in your day was go to school, get good grades, get a good job, then save your money, invest it, and then you're happy. And I don't know if you heard of the book, The Millionaire Fastlane by MJ DeMarco. It's an entrepreneur book, and that's what kind of it teaches you. And that's the kind of the story that I've been living to this day, where in my life, my family are also illegal immigrants. They came here, they worked shitty jobs so they can give me the opportunity to follow that set script, how he explained it. But then when I was in high school, like when I was graduating, I was entering college, I realized like, I don't like college. I hate this stuff. And I started reading some like finance books of these topics. And my mind like was exposed to this whole world of business and entrepreneurship and podcasting and content creation, and that this could be a viable option to make money. But no one believed me. No one thought like this was in the world that I live in, my small world of my life. No one believes in this stuff. Like they think it's like it's fake. What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's interesting because, when you said that, it really brought back memories of my past life. And really, because there was actually no opportunities besides like to succeed. You either got a good education, you got a good job. That was how you succeeded. There was not the internet. We did not have social media. And now there's this whole new world. We've got AI now, and it's for millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It's been awesome because now we really see that kind of school education is really poor and it's suffering. It really doesn't prepare you for what's coming. And even entrepreneurs such as Elon Musk, I'd rather hire somebody with these awesome skills versus someone with an expensive pedigree. That was your generation, and is really blessed to have all these tools. It's just how you put it together and your ability to create a brand and create an audience and to be able to influence and impact. So that's kind of those things that the way to make it in society today is actually, you have the traditional routes, but those kind of are going away because you don't have, like my grandparents, they told my parents Social Security is going to save you. And then when my parents realized that wasn't going to save you, they were like, oh, jobs, get a good job. 401k, all the pensions, all these things. And my generation is like, these things don't exist anymore. Cause like, even if you invest $1 million in a 401k, you at 3%, that's $30,000 a year. That's not enough to live on. That may pay for your rent or maybe your food, but that's not like 30,000 a year is really not enough to really survive and thrive. Yeah. It's this, just these new paradigm shifts, and now also education too. I know, there's a lot more people. They're like, I'm not going to pay to go to education when it's just putting me in debt and it's not going to help me find the job or help me succeed. I'd rather go out and use social media platforms and to collaborate and create things of value. So that's how the new generation is thinking.
Yeah, extremely. My mindset, I originally, like, to dive in a little bit into my little story, I started making YouTube videos, content creation, without knowing about this whole world. I just wanted to make videos to share what I was learning, which was funny. And then started making some videos. I was going to school at the same time. Spring break comes, and the whole spring break, instead of partying, having fun, going to the beach, I just made videos the whole week. And at the end of the week, I had to wake up Monday at 8 a.m. to go to class. And I thought to myself, I would rather just wake up and make more videos. So I took a huge risk. I didn't tell anybody, and I just stopped going to school, and I just dedicated myself to YouTube for a whole year. But of course, throughout the journey, I realized maybe I do some parts of school. Maybe I don't like so much of YouTube. And now I want to merge them together and make like a hybrid. And that's what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah. It's really wonderful because I always believe like education, because I always loved going to the library, being surrounded by books. I see those books in your background. I've always been curious. I've always been thirsty and hungry about just improving myself. And the beauty of now we've got YouTube, and education is actually it's free, and you can get world-class education. There's Khan Academy, and just, I love this idea because when I was growing up in your path, you're following the same paths. And like a lot of my friends, they were partying and chasing girls and alcohol and drugs and all this. And I was like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to waste my time. And I wanted to do things that were just propel me forward, things like eating right, working out, creating things, self-improvement, self-development. Those are the things that kind of resonate with me. And then obviously I learned the value of networking and just building quality relationships and just people that help you succeed and propel you forward. Yeah, I really loved what you did.
Thank you. I want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of how, let's say you're giving, because I know you do consultations. Let's say you're talking to a 21-year-old like me, and we're in college, but we're exposing ourselves to a podcast like yours. We're reading books like The Millionaire Fast Lane, Unscripted, The 4 Hour Work Week, where it's our first time hearing about this stuff. And we're like, how do I get started on this? Because I know that getting started on the business stuff is probably, it's such a mirage that you don't know. What would you tell me, like first couple steps?
Yeah, it's a great question. You're already ahead because you're already starting to read things. The book that really changed my life, the book that really was Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was, he was talking about all the things that were changing and just like this collision between the industrial and the information age. So that really helped me. But like I said, the school is like it's like a safe ground. It buys you time because it's a great way to connect. It's a great way to socialize, to learn proper social skills, get a decent education. And it's like you have 4 years college you basically buy yourself 4 years. And basically during those 4 years, really invest in yourself, eat right, work out, learn about business, start a business. It's really easy to start a business now. You can do blog, you can YouTube, there's social media, there's a podcast. You can do online consultations. I know like fitness, diet, I know a lot of female colleagues, they use their beauty to promote beauty products. There's so many different ways to do things. You can do affiliates, you can write a book, you can create a course. There's so many different things. So do something that that you can manage, you can build a brand and monetize your content on top of your education. So I think that's like the starting point. And like a corollary to what you were saying is like during spring break, you were on YouTube and you were actually creating content. And there's also an important distinction because a lot of people are on YouTube, but they're like consuming it. They're like learning and things. Actually go on the YouTube or Instagram or Twitter and actually create things. Produce something, build a brand, build a connection, share ideas, create something that, that is on these platforms. And if you do it consistently over time, you start to build a following. And from there, you can build an audience and there you can promote books. There's so many different ways. So that's the one thing is get on social media and start building a brand presence and like a business presence. What is your one expertise of skill? Is it fitness? Is it nutrition? Is it exercise? Is it self-improvement? There's so many niches. There's so many people, influencers, coaches talking about how they, with different experiences, and how they can help. That's the one piece of advice I would say the starting point.
So you really like the social media kind of business approach. That's like what you would say is like for a starting newbie, like someone in college, maybe has an expertise of the gym, like they love the gym. That's like what you would tell them to do, like just start an Instagram or start a YouTube and then start there for business.
Yeah. Oh man. The reason why I say social media is because basically almost for free, you have the cost of a cell phone and basically it's going to cost you your time, but basically you have instant access to over millions of people instantaneously with the push of a button. So that's why social media is so powerful. Like I was late to the social media game and I realized like how far behind I was. So I had to bust my ass to catch up and like I'm there, but I still have, a long ways to go. There's like YouTubers that started like 10, 15 years ago that have like hundreds of thousands of followers. They get tens of thousands per month from their videos. So that's the reason why social media, it's not just like cat videos. It's very powerful if you can deliver a message, a brand message, and you stay consistent and you can build an audience, you can monetize that. That's how a lot of people such as yourself are bypassing the traditional ways and actually flourishing. So I know a lot of people, they did what you did. They felt that school wasn't for them and they monetized their fitness or their passions and now they live anywhere. They control their time, they control their income, and they actually make more than actually a traditional 9 to 5. So that's where I would advise you to start. The other thing is, for example, if, like school isn't for you, like a lot of times school is not for people. So I know people like they babysit or they, drive for Uber or Lyft, in their spare time, they wait tables, the bartenders, all these things just to make so they can pay the bills so that they can really focus on their passions. I know people do that as well. So that's another option.
Yeah, that's an option I'm currently living right now. So just to compartmentalize it, the YouTube is like the dream. That's the vehicle I want to be the business to free me. But then I have school where I want to specialize in mental health because that's one of the main themes of my channel. I love mental health and I want to bring that to everyone. So it'd be cool if my thought process, and this might be turned into a consultation where I want to be a psychologist and just have that status and credibility. So when I make mental health content, it's, okay, this guy's a psychologist. I'll trust his content. That's my thinking right now. Might change in the future. And in the meantime, I'm 21. I have bills. I have to pay rent. I have to take out my girlfriend to dinner. So I serve. I'm a waiter. So that helps me funnel and fund my life currently. Of course, trying to be financially responsible and not spend a bunch of money. That's my setup right now in my life. And it works as a 20-year-old.
Yeah. And that's perfectly acceptable. You're making a living and then you're progressing. I always I never compared myself to, I always thought, what is the next step? How do I get my footing in? And what is the next step? That's same thing with financial freedoms. If you're making an income, save some of that income and just what I call, it's called dollar cost averaging. And so just whatever your income is, 10 or 20%, always have some savings. So that way it's almost like if you think about a bear in hibernation or a squirrel, you look at any animal, like during the winter time, they're actually going and they're storing food for the winter time. So we need to do the same thing with money. You spend it on what you need, but you save some of that. So in case you need that in the future for future savings. And then the problem with just saving pure is that, because of inflation and because of the devaluation of the dollar, you have to put it into things that keep up. Stocks are really good, very solid companies such as Apple, Amazon, Google. All these companies are very solid over the 10, 20-year horizon. That money that you saved and invest will keep up with the cost of living. So
a question I want to ask is what advice would you have for someone that to become more financially responsible? Like we're reading these finance books, we want to be better with money, but we just have bad habits with money. Maybe like a book recommendation or just something where this is something I struggle with, where I have a goal right now where I want to save 2K so I can after invest a little bit into YouTube gear. I want to buy some lighting, some new mics, but then after continue saving just to have a nest, like an emergency fund. But whenever I have some money in the bank, then I just splurge it on a vacation or going to Airbnbs or going to San Francisco. So what can I do? What can we do to improve on that?
One thing is just keep your expenses. So when you're first starting out, can be whether you're just starting out just like yourself or you like startups. Always the number one thing is what is your burn rate and what is how long can you last? But basically all the income stop coming in. How long could you last? And that's basically controlled by your expenses. It's good you have to reward yourself for successes. But like I said, if you keep your expenses low and you find like good deals or it's like the lean period. The lean period is like where you basically cut but so that you can make it to the next milestone or the next goal. Any sort of combination of whether it's cooking your own meals or not eating out as often. If you need a new pair of shoes, delaying it for a couple months, these types of things increase your runway. But that's the number one thing is just your expenses, keep track of your expenses. Obviously things like alcohol, drugs, tobacco, all these things you can immediately cut out. Candy, sodas, all these things you can cut out that will significantly impact it. So that's the number one thing is just watch your expenses. First thing. The other thing that's a good habit is always paying yourself first. So whenever you get a income or your paycheck, $100 goes into a savings account and that you don't touch that. That's untouchable. You want to save 2K, you basically $100, that's going to take you 20 times 100. So basically if you get paid $100 a week or whatever, put that away. That's not touchable. Like regardless, just don't touch it. And that way, and then basically when you have that emergency fund, that you keep that, or if you want to invest in new equipment or gear, you can do that as well. So.
Thank you. That was a great response.
Yeah, thanks.
I want to touch back a little bit on what you were saying about social media and also like just ramming that point of how powerful it is. When I started making videos, I never thought it would be as powerful as it is right now. And my account isn't even that big yet. 700 subscribers on YouTube, almost 1,000 on Instagram. But the things that have been opening up for me because of what I've been doing on social media is beautiful. Just to share real analytics or like real things that happened, I sold a package, like a consulting package for 350, one package. And that was mind blowing to me. I never thought that could even be possible. I sold an hour of my time for, I think, $75. And to me, that was like exploding my mind because it's like, that's an hour I got paid for. But when I first started out, things like that, like I didn't think that would be possible. So
Go ahead. Yeah.
So let's say I follow your first step of advice, which is, okay, hop on social media. I make an Instagram account and then start sharing my passions. I'm into fitness. So I start just making fitness content like crazy. How would I progress into the next stage?
Okay. What you're actually on the right path, and I'll share with you because, initially it's almost like nutrition and fitness. You don't see like you do it, like the issue is consistency and and frequency and obviously the right training methods. But the one thing that really separates, because I've seen people that blew up on social media during the pandemic, and then basically you look at their accounts and it's nothing. They just stopped. But then you look at people like that started slow and they just kept going up to now, and they're like killing it. Now they have 5-6 figure businesses. And like, so the main thing is consistency. And, I'll also share with you, for example, like my YouTube was just throwaway channel. I was just actually trying to figure out a way, because I was like, yeah, YouTube, but it's hard to grow on YouTube. Your videos have to be really good. The sound, the lighting, your guests have to be really good. The SEO, everything, like thumbnails. It's almost like if you grow on YouTube, it's like legit quality stuff. And I just put that just growing there, and initially no views, early videos got no views, nothing. But then I kept consistent. I kept improving the sound and the video, the guests, talking about things that were interesting and improving on the search engine optimization. And now it's like actually got a decent following and get some traction. But like I said, these things take and build up over time. That's the first thing. I know you had another question, so I'd love to expand and expound upon that.
I want to make a point on that consistency thing, which is 100% right. I'll share, before this entrepreneurship, like YouTube journey started, my main thing was fitness. Like I loved working out, and my main goal was to become as buff as possible, just to become attractive, because I just felt I had a huge insecurity, and that was like my vehicle to becoming more confident. It was the fitness. And I started in 8th grade. I worked out for almost 7 years, and my results were never, I was consistent, but my results were never like, people would validate and praise me like, yeah, you are buff, or you're like, you made some results. It was always like mediocre, but I just stayed consistent. And eventually that last year, once I turned about 20, maybe I was a late bloomer with puberty, but stuff changed. My body changed, and I actually my body updated, and I actually became buff, and I started getting praise, validated. And it was like mind blowing to me. I was like, wow, all these years, and in 1 year, everything changes. And now I got what I wanted. So I relate this to the business entrepreneurship journey that I'm on now, where a lot of the videos I made early on, no views, I'm not making any traction. But I've realized now, because of the fitness journey, I'm just going to keep doing this. Let's put in a couple 5-10 years, see what happens. And I've noticed that the way I handle this business now, the way I make videos, the way now I have an editor, I have a thumbnail guy, the way I'm doing all of this stuff, before I didn't have this nice background. Before I would just literally put the camera on, and my bed isn't even made in the background. So I'm learning things as I go, and it's all thanks to consistency, that beautiful thing.
Yeah. And, also to touch upon that. Oh, so turning back is so one thing is you're consistent, and how do you monetize that? So one thing is, like, for example, if you had a coaching package or a consultation, you can always put these things in your bio or at the end of the posts. And so people that are interested, they can click on it and find out more information. And the more And with consistency and with good habits, if you continue that, the quality gets better and your brand reputation gets better. And so the frequency by which you get paid and can monetize will increase. So that's the other thing. And the other thing is what I've noticed is also because, I started podcasting and I just fell in love with the process. I really like the content and the networking was interesting, but I was really interested in the process. I was always interested in like, how can I use AI to generate thumbnails, or how can I speed up this process, or how can I make this? I was always figure ways of making things better. So I was like, guests would have like really interesting lighting setups. So I'd be like, oh, okay. Cause like I'm using a virtual background for my, eventually, if they may graduate into a podcast studio where you have like an interesting background. Just I'm always experimenting. I'm really in love with the process. How can I make it better, efficient, more faster? How can I get more views? How can I use AI? So that's what I'm in for. So.
Very true too. That's a very good point. Would you say that if you're going to enter the social media game or this game in general, that picking a right process that you're going to stick to is like a right idea? Let's say you love talking to camera, making videos and stuff like this, but you make yourself a blogger and you force yourself to write, but you hate the writing process. What would you say to that?
We'll find out like me, like I have a blog. Sometimes like, for example, I can put out like tons of YouTube and audio content per day. Like I'm in the flow and it's like fun for me. And I have a blog just to have it. And like, I take the content and create a blog post out of it, but like, I can only create 1 or 2 blog posts. After that, it really drains me because it's just a little bit more slower. So just find out like what your natural talent is. And because I know, for example, if it's YouTube, then just focus on YouTube or podcasts, or because I know a lot of fitness gurus and guys, they're on Instagram because use photos. That's the easiest thing, photos, and go where your audience is, go where you can monetize it. You don't have to be everything or do everything. Just focus on what brings you joy. What are you good at? And for example, if you don't like blogging, but you want to have a blog presence, you can hire a blogger to write. You can give him or her a rough sketch and they can do it for you. So there's a lot of different ways.
Yeah. There's so much to the point where I wish I started earlier. I do wish, but I feel like I started at a right time where everything's unfolding as it should.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I alluded to, I was late to the social media game because I didn't start social media to 2016. And back then my cohorts, they had already amassed, like some had 10,000 followers on Instagram. And I was like, what's this Instagram thing? What is it? And they're like, oh man, you can use it and you can get clients, you can market. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, how does this work? And it took me a while. It took me actually 4 years of playing around until the COVID. And I was like, oh, I need to be on social media because that's where everybody is. It's almost like being on TV or radio.
I want to ask you a little bit questions about AI. I first off want to share that AI is so powerful. I don't know if you know about Ali Abdaal on YouTube and social media.
No, I don't, but
he's a personal development YouTuber. He has a nice course, the Part-Time YouTuber Academy. And I bought the course. It was $1,000, an investment I made when I had like 100 subscribers, full return. It was amazing. And he recommended how powerful AI was. And I wasn't really into it. I heard about students cheating on it for school, but when I started using AI in general in my life, it's such a powerful tool. I use it for school and it helps me streamline the process quicker. I use it for YouTube titles just to give me ideas. AI in general is a powerful tool, but how have you been your relationship with AI ever since it started?
AI is evolving. So it's a tool and a technology. It reminds me of because I remember when email first came out and then the internet came out, and when the internet came out, everybody was like, you got to have a website. And then when Google came out, it was like, oh, you got to be on SEO. And then when Facebook came out, it was like, oh, you got to be on social media. And so AI is one of those tools and technology. So, and it's like I said, I know a lot of people in the beginning were just using AI to replace the work, but now it's actually, you have to use AI in conjunction with human creativity and ingenuity to produce really good stuff. And like I said, it's almost like it can be an assistant, it can be an editor, it can play so many different roles. It can give you ideas, it can give you rough drafts very quickly. So for example, I've been using AI for about 2 years now. And before ChatGPT came out, I had editors and I had a team and all of this, but AI is really, it's basically allowed me to scale quality content as well as scale in quantity. It's much faster than, like I said, I was always trying to figure out ways to improve the process. And I was always trying to streamline the process. Like, how can I make this better and faster? So AI has really helped. Like, for example, 2 years ago, it would take almost like a week plus to get one video out. And now I can get 5 or 6 videos out in a day. So that's how fast, the technology is. And it's really interesting because the technology is getting better and better, because the beginning of this year, to use AI for text, that was a year ago, that was really clunky. It would give you like weird answers and all this, but now it's like actually gives you like really good quality answers. And now I've been using AI to generate thumbnails. And so that's been really awesome too. So now I can generate thumbnails, and eventually the AI is going to be able to generate videos, which is right now it's not at that point. It's really slow and clunky, but eventually it'll be able to do that. I think probably by next year. So
It's such a beautiful tool.
and
I remember last weekend I was having a conversation with my girlfriend's friend, and I was telling her
yeah,
about how I use AI for school because it just saves my thinking power.
yeah,
And she told me this comment where she's like, "Oh, I don't really like using AI because I want to think for myself." That was her response. But I
yeah,
disagreed with her because, for example, one of the tools I use AI for is, let's say I write a whole rough draft of a YouTube video. Now, I love the writing process. I feel like down the line, I would love to be a writer, an author. I love books. So that's deep down, that's like the thing I want to do in the future. So
yeah,
what I do with AI is, and I know most books have an editor that cleans it up, but since I'm not at that point, I'm only writing YouTube videos. I write a whole rough draft, I pour my soul into it, feed it into AI, and I tell it clean it up, and it cleans it up, and it takes my writing, and I can even tell it. Let's say I read Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. I'm like, hey, I wrote a video on Tools of Titans. Can you clean this up, but also read Tools of Titans and add some stuff that I didn't, or just clean up my points, and it'll read
yeah,
the book, and it'll just make a video 10 times better.
yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. And one thing that's really helped me is like videos. For example, videos, now the AI can create transcripts, because in the past, what I would do is to create like descriptions, I would have to go to websites and get all this information, and the AI would create something, but the topic of the conversation could be changed, and there's different nuances, there's a change of themes and change of topics. So now the AI can actually record things, create a transcript, and then edit it. So that was really interesting as well.
Wow,
So
that's beautiful.
yeah.
A point I want you to talk about is, oh, you got muted? It's the process. And I like how you're mentioning the process a lot. I read a
Yeah.
great entrepreneurship book for anyone listening that is really new to this game, that just wants like a business 101 in a book. It's The Millionaire Fastlane by NJ DeMarco. And he talks about how much it's about the process. It's about that grueling journey, how business is a journey, a lifelong journey, instead of most people that like hear about business or hear about success stories think it's like a overnight success thing.
It brings me back to when you were talking about you were working out and you didn't see much, but you were consistent. And then when you hit your 20s, you started to see the changes. And it's the same thing. It's like almost, because for example, like I started my business in 2016, and like for 4 years, I was just playing around, fumbling around. I was like, yeah, there's not much to talk. What is this? And when COVID hit, it put all the sort of attention and direction on all individual brands and creators. And that's when I started getting a lot of coaching calls, a lot of clients. People were buying my books. People were listening to my podcast. And it's very similar. It's like this one catalyst that I think Malcolm Gladwell talks about. It's called a tipping point, where it's basically, or say, an athlete. It's like they put in so much, they don't see much results, but they're actually growing. But they don't see it if they keep, there's one catalyst that really sparks something. This could be a huge client. It could be a huge following. So it's called this tipping point, and it's just all that. It's like a catalyst that really takes you to the next level. So
In a book right here, I don't know if you could see it, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Great book about habits. He calls it the latent potential. When you're grinding and you're doing this consistency process stuff, you don't see any results, but then eventually that's just your latent potential. Your results are just building up, but you can't see them. And then that tipping point, like how Malcolm Gladwell said. I think for me, I'd love to hear what your tipping point is, but mine, I recently had a success client story with a client who's struggling to focus. I taught her deep work because I love deep work. So I got a bachelor's degree in deep work because I just loved it so much. And I taught her how to do it. And she's a PhD, like she's working on her PhD. So for me to coach someone like that, it gave me so much confidence. It made me feel like, okay, what I'm doing is actually a thing. I'm not just spinning my wheels here on the internet.
Yeah.
And getting her testimonial, getting that made me feel like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. The other thing that, I love that with these a lot of YouTubers and influencers, now they are recording everything. So it could be like we're recording this podcast, but if you have a coaching client or success story, they're recording everything and they're remixing that for social media, for marketing purposes. So I know I started recording everything, like all my speeches. I started recording those and just creating content out of that. And that's been real, that gives you a lot of juice and a lot of good ideas too. So
Awesome. I have a question. What are your goals now? Like you started business in 2016. So it's been about 8 years since you wanted to escape.
yeah. Yeah.
You said, I read your Instagram that you became financially free at 38. What is your life now? Is it, because I remember when we were in San Francisco, you had consultations all day. You were just working all day in your room. I didn't really see you have fun.
Yeah.
Are you still in the grinding process mode, or are you ever going to transition to like the 4-hour work week where you want to live your life and just work a little bit? What's that like now?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question because I love to work so much that I'll do it even if I don't get paid. That's another thing that I really tell people is do something that you could do for free, like writing or create videos. I know a lot of people just create videos and something that there's no monetary price. And what really gets me is seeing the growth and the traction and just seeing the rewards of just people like actually clicking on your video and listening to it and liking it or sharing it too. That's really where I get the reward and joy. Somebody really getting impacted by and the monetary is just, my actual goal is actually for my niche, I focus on business entrepreneurship for doctors and dentists, health professionals. So my goal is actually, I was thinking the other day, how do I become the big YouTuber guy was Mr. Beast? How do I become the Mr. Beast or like the Lex Friedman or like these big YouTubers for my particular niche? So that's what's really keeping me going. How do I get great guests? How do I create great content? How can I create engagement? How can I increase viewership? So that's my next goal instead.
It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to be the Mr. Beast of mental health. That's my goal right now. Because at first in the YouTube journey, I thought that I had a false idea that I thought I can just post a video every week. It can be with my iPhone, just in my room. And eventually over the years, I'll gain traction, I'll make money, and I'll be financially free. And I'll live the 4-hour work week. I thought I could do that. And that was maybe it was because I was still young and I'm still growing. I'm only 21 years old. So I realized, oh, wait, I actually need to be successful. And I actually have to put in a little bit of work for this to actually work. I need to have a nice room. I have to have a nice lighting. I have to have a nice mic. I have to put in effort into this. And that was a sobering reality that I didn't like, but I'm starting to come to terms with.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it takes I would say around the biggest brands, like in my niche, the biggest brands, it took them 10 years to become big brands. And they were like, again, it was just all habits and consistency. And eventually it was like investing in new equipment, investing in new software. Eventually you'll hit a point where it's like during the process, it's like in order for your channel or your brand to grow to the next level, you have to invest in something. Maybe it's a virtual assistant. Maybe it's an editor. Maybe it's software. These things for the audience listening, it's not an overnight thing where we were talking about. It takes at least 5 to 10 years of just pure work ethic to actually get something of meaningful value and tractions.
Would you say, if you could like sum up the business journey, it's you start and you're just playing around for 5 years, trying to like tinkering with everything, figuring this stuff out. And then the next 5 to 10 years is actually like, all right, I figured some stuff out. Now you dial in. Is that kind of what this all really is about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So again, I'll give you an example of it's particularly YouTube. And so YouTube, first thing is I was like, yeah, I could put a video a week and I'll get 20,000 subscribers or whatever. And I was like putting a video a week and then nothing was happening. And I was like, oh, what the hell? It's just hard to grow. And then I started just basically just taking stuff from my podcast and putting it onto YouTube, I'm like, and starting to see something. First, I would struggle for one subscriber a month in the beginning. And then I would struggle. Then I would see myself getting one subscriber a week. And then I would say, and then I would be like, and then I was just playing around. I was just, how do I use Zoom? How do I play with the lighting? How do I play with the audio? All of these things, how do I get better guests? And then eventually it was like, how can I use AI to edit out the ahs and the ums and the awkward silences and the pauses? How can I make everything better? And then now I'm getting like a couple subscribers a day. So it's just playing around. And like I said, from 2016 to 2020, I was just actually struggling. I was like, what is this social media thing? I don't understand it. What do you talk about? I see all these pretty girls with 100,000. I'm not a pretty girl. Or these buff guys, six packs. I can't, that's not me. So it's just playing around. And what is just tinkering, as you call it.
That's really what this whole journey is about. 2019 is when I got the idea to start a YouTube channel. I always say this. I was at the gym with two of my friends. I was like, hey, I want us to do a YouTube channel. I waited 2 years until 2021 to actually make a YouTube video because the phone I had at the time, the speaker didn't work. So you couldn't hear me when I recorded. So I used that as an excuse to not make a video. Then 2 years later, I upgraded my phone to this phone right here, which I recorded like about 200 videos just with this phone. And I made my first video after that. And then those videos were just horrible. They were just me like this. Hi guys, go meditate today. But I made like about 200 videos with that. And then I upgraded to the camera I have now, this camera right here. So
nice.
A lot of tinkering.
Yeah, I've noticed because I've actually seen your YouTube channel. I've noticed because I've seen the earlier videos and I've seen like the videos now, like the lighting is and the sound is really good and like the qualities and then the guests talking about, and I noticed that like your descriptions and your titles are more enticing. And I'm like, and I actually just enjoy listening to the guests and everything. But yeah, keep it up.
Thank you so much. I don't want to sound like I'm giving you a sales pitch, but I would really recommend the Part-Time YouTuber Academy to you listening. And to anyone else listening, if they want to make YouTube, they want to do the YouTube game for business. Yeah. But of course, there's so many other vehicles, I would say.
Yeah. YouTube is I think one of the best media channels because I've been on Instagram, Twitter. I think YouTube is one of those. If you can build something on YouTube, you've got something really powerful because it's really hard to grow on YouTube. And so basically, if you're growing on YouTube, you're doing something correct.
I think YouTube is beautiful. I have cousins of mine who are also in this game, but they're TikTokers and Instagrammers. And we always debate and argue about, because I put so much effort into the YouTube. They're like, what are you doing? Like YouTube's dying. They have a belief where it's like YouTube's for old people or no one's on YouTube. But they don't see that YouTube's the second largest search engine aside from Google. We're in different niches. They make like entertainment content. It's still valuable content. Like one of my cousins is really into running and he's making an Instagram for run clubs. That's something that's trending right now. And he's motivating people to start exercising through his content on like shorts. So I'm like, okay, I had this belief where anything that's a TikTok isn't valuable or anything that's a short video is not valuable. I have that very dogmatic where you need to watch a 1 hour lecture or a podcast to actually gain some value. So I'm trying to get over that. But I think YouTube is like such a powerful one. And I like it because it's one of the harder ones because you need to understand cameras, lighting. You need to understand editing, thumbnails. Compared to Instagram, anyone can hop on Instagram or TikTok and just record a quick video with their phone.
Yeah, YouTube really if you can really have a media presence on YouTube, it's really, like I said, you have something of value. And again, also I know a lot of successful TikTokers, like, cause that's their audience is like, you're talking about entertainment and it's like short form and that's their niche, that's their content. But really, like I said, just go where your audience is, go where your interests, where your talents, where your passions lie.
That's very true. A couple of months ago when I was still tinkering, I was making blog posts. And I loved making blog posts. Like blogs are my favorite. If I could just be a blogger and make money, that would be amazing. I love writing, but 20 people would read it. No one was reading it. And it's so hard to make it into the blogging like sphere to actually make it a big, but I realized everyone's watching content. Everyone's driving and listening. People always tell me, friends of mine that watch my videos, they're like, dude, I listen to your video while I work my security shift. When I'm doing an all-nighter, I just listen to you and your guests. So I realized, no, people are listening to stuff right now. As much as I love reading, you might love reading. People are not reading. Their attention span's not there, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that I heard the trend, which is why, because initially I was writing books, and then basically after that, I was like, all the attention is on videos and audio. And so I was like, then I want to make a digital course. And then everything changed to courses. And then now it's like, now everybody's on YouTube and podcasts as well. Podcast is actually for anybody wanting to build a brand. Podcast is still a early a niche to be in but the people that are listening to podcasts is growing. It's like early days of YouTube and early days of Instagram. So if you want to build a podcast, you can take your YouTube stuff and put it onto a podcast as well. So podcast is a really great way. So.
Awesome. I want to ask you one last question before we end off. If you could give any of your Chris wisdom, I know you're not 38. How old would you say you are?
Right now I'm 46.
46. So you're 46 years old. You have ancient wisdom that's amazing. If you were speaking to your 21-year-old self, what lasting wisdom would you give to him to end off this video? Something that he could take with him and take back to his self-improvement journey. What would you say?
Oh man, I would say question everything. Just see what really helped me was like seeing where the world was going. Cause I remember in 2000, like when I started med school, and I was like, cause med school was like, that was like the end all be all. That was like the end goal. And I had made it. And then I questioned, like I saw healthcare, like, and I was like, all these doctors unhappy. And I was like, yeah, this was my goal and dream. So question everything and see where the world is going. People like my grandparents, they were talking about social security, and my parents were talking about jobs and pensions. And I was like, this is all going away. This is not going to be there. So yeah, you see where the world is going. AI, robots, jobs getting crushed. Eventually, like people that are driving for Uber and Lyft, like eventually you're going to have autonomous, like in San Francisco, they had the Waymos, right? And I was like, I'll ask the Uber drivers, are you scared of Waymos? Because you're going to be out of a job, and they're like, oh yeah. And so see where the world is going, and you have to adapt and adjust and different ideas. These ideas are like question everything, question all these dogmas, and you have to tinker around and find your own way. It's really hard for the beauty of like your generation, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, is that you have technology. It's like you were born with like smartphones and internet, and you're born with that. But the problem is now it's like things are changing so fast. So it's like, how do you adjust? For my generation, it's a little bit harder because we have to adjust. And a lot of like people are searching for themselves and trying to search for meaning and purpose, but to really question everything, see where the world is going. Have an open mind. I love Elon because he's like always like talking about the future. And even when he talks about like Mars and stuff, I'm like, man, this is far out. I don't see that. He sees it. Just always keep reading, read 1-2 hours a day, work out, all these things. And I think you'll do well.
2 bonus questions. You would say your top recommendation for a finance book, which I've been trying to figure out. Love Unscripted. I love Millionaire Fast Lane. You would say is Rich Dad Poor Dad, or do you have any other?
Rich Dad Poor Dad was, if you haven't read that, definitely pick that up. Right now it's intro and basic, but there's a lot of more advanced. I think one of the top books that really, for me, my generation, for me was reading like The Intelligent Investor, any book by kind of Warren Buffett, just like sound like talking about investing principles, and it can be applied to like your health, can be applied to a lot of different things. Any books by there. The other really great book I think that really resonated with me it's called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And it really talks about like all these different, for example, if Bill Gates weren't born in the generation of the PC, Microsoft wouldn't have been invented. Or if like Mark Zuckerberg hadn't attended a particular school, or Facebook wouldn't have been invented. So it's really talking about this fascinating book, talking about very timely and relevant psychology of money. That one was really good.
Thank you so much. The last bonus question. You were mentioning how question everything. I want to question social media. Right now, we're in the age where it's all about social media. Like my mom wants to get on social media. Everyone wants to get on social media. And social media it's the new gold rush of our generation. That's what I've heard, that you can make a living. You can make everything by posting some videos on Instagram. Do you think this will last long, or what are your thoughts about that in the future for social media? Because so many people are jumping in. Do you think, is this going to get oversaturated? Eventually, is this going to blow up? What do you think?
I already think it's saturated. I think basically it's reached the peak importance. In the early days of social media, it was like, is this really important? Is this going to be around? I think the concept of social media is going to be there. But it's going to evolve and change. So like right now we have the big platforms. Those may change could be new platforms could be older platforms. They like, for example, TikTok, you're seeing what they're going through. But I think this concept of social media is here to stay, and it's reached peak. People already realize how important you need to be on social media. So that's not going to change. The other thing is this idea of censorship here in the States and also in the Europe. That you hear about Brazil, they censored, or they actually banned Twitter or X. And so censorship is actually going to be a big issue. We have freedom of speech, but it's actually being challenged by these big platforms like delisting or deplatforming or taking down posts. So that's going to be a big thing. AI is going to actually be a big thing with deep fakes. And how do we trust the content? Is this really real? Is this true disinformation, misinformation? That's going to be really big as well. But I think, eventually, the other thing is, a lot of these platforms, the value accrues to the shareholders and the CEOs of these companies like Facebook and Google and YouTube. A lot of these, we have to struggle to build a brand and presence, and then we get kind of pennies for our efforts. So we have to figure out ways to make money from our efforts. Like kind of the investors of Google and YouTube, they receive a nice payout. There's something that's coming where it's giving more creators more control and ownership over their content. So currently the way to control and own your content is through like an email list or through a newsletter or something that you own and control. A podcast as well. Something that cannot be censored or deplatformed or taken down unless you're like breaking the law. So that's going to be a big thing. And now with blockchain and AI, there's a lot of people starting companies and platforms that kind of try to compete with YouTube or Twitter or Spotify, Facebook. So you own your content. So if you post something and it gets 10,000 likes, you can make money from those likes. So that's going to be a big thing too.
I want to say thank you so much for just educating the hell out of me, my audience. And I had such a pleasure having you on, man. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. And I really enjoy it. Like I said, it was really fortuitous that we met, and keep up the great work. I'm always trying to really, like I said, that place in San Francisco is so special. It's almost like a creator incubator.
Would you say San Francisco? Would you say? Thank you so much. Thank you for the praise. But would you say San Francisco is like that serendipity vehicle where it's like you're just meeting creators everywhere and it's beautiful?
That's the beauty of it. It's like the Silicon Valley. That's why we have some of the most valuable companies. The most valuable companies is because it's like it's a whole city where you're supported by venture capital. You got creators, you got startups, and just this econ just attracts those kind of serendipitous moments. That's why I really love San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to like life that helped us meet, and I hope we can foster this relationship for the future. But before we go, can you share to everyone your socials? How can we connect with you? How can we learn from you? Like your podcast, all of the good stuff.
Yeah. Main thing is go to my podcast. It's called the Financial Freedom Podcast with Dr. Christopher Liu. We're on all major platforms. You can check out. We were also on YouTube as well. And my Instagram is Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. I'm also on Twitter. Sign up for my email list. My email is chris@drchrisliu.mdphd.com. Send me an email and we'll get you plugged into the system.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. See you next time. Awesome. That was great, Chris. You did. That was amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much.
I really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm really excited to hear the release, and and let me know how we can collaborate. I'd love to have you on my podcast as well.
Yeah. You said that you were booked until December?
Oh, my official calendar. But what I've been doing is like for guests such as yourself, I can schedule you. So just tell me like next week or the week after during these times and then I'll send you a calendar invite, and I'd love to interview you for my podcast.
Thank you so much. That would be, I think, my first interview of someone interviewing me. So that would be so much fun. I'll text you all that information, and as soon as I'm gonna streamline you to the top of the list. I want this video to come out as soon as possible. So I'm excited for all of that good stuff. And yeah, thank you so much, Chris.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. Keep it up and enjoy the weekend.
You too, man. Thank you. I'll see you soon. I'm gonna record the intro and all the good stuff.
Awesome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Let's go, Suma. All right. Let's record this intro. Let's record 2 intros. All right, Suma. Don't get overwhelmed, but this is 2 intros that I'm going to record. So first intro is with Dr. Christopher Liu. If you're new to my channel, my name is Joselo. I am a self-improvement coach, and I'm also a student studying to become a psychologist because I love mental health. In today's video, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Christopher Liu. He was a doctor, but he's also become a podcaster, social media influencer, and he has the podcast, the Financial Freedom Podcast, specifically for physicians, doctors, dentists, because he was able to escape his 9-to-5 and become financially free. And he now teaches that to doctors who are also struggling to escape their 9-to-5. We had a great conversation about self-improvement, mainly about finances, saving, financial freedom, social media, how to start a business. And it was such a great conversation. And I'm so excited for you to listen to it. Before we dive deep into the podcast, I also want to mention that if you are liking my videos and you're interested in working with me as your coach, go to the description and click the top link so you can book a free 30-minute coaching call with me, and I'll be able to help you out on your self-improvement journey, with your mental health, with your fitness, with dating, whatever that you need help with, I'm there to help you. And now that we got that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Christopher Liu. It was amazing. I'll see you next time. You can take out that. I'll see you next time. All right. Let's do the outro. And that was my entire conversation with Dr. Christopher Liu. It was such a great conversation. I am so excited to hop on his podcast and just to create a relationship with Chris. And it goes to show you how important social skills and networking is. I met Christopher in an Airbnb and I just said hi to him. And now I interviewed him for my podcast and I'm going to be on his podcast. And he's a great guy. So I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you like today's convo, click right here so you can listen to my convo with my coach, Richard. This is another coach of mine, and he's a great guy. He's a fitness coach. He changed my body. He changed my confidence, and he dropped most of his gems of being that guy and doing what you got to do to succeed on your self-improvement journey. So click right here to watch that video. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out. Okay, snap. Asuma, now this is going to be the intro and outro for the Chato podcast that I filmed yesterday. So if you're new here, my name's Joselo. I'm a self-improvement coach, and I'm also a student studying to become a psychologist because I love mental health, and that's what I love sharing and teaching to improve your mental health. In today's video, I'm going to be interviewing my cousin and a good friend of mine, Henry Gallardo, but he also goes by Chato, and he's a TikToker, he's a runner, he's a marathon runner, he's Instagrammer. He's really into this social media stuff, and he has a brand and a business, Body Athletics. He's living the life of a masculine man on self-improvement. And we had a great conversation about his story, how he started his businesses, which are 2, burger business, but also his brand on Instagram and social media and TikTok. We're also going to talk about, and we just had a great conversation about self-improvement and how to improve on your journey. So I'm so excited for you to listen to our conversation today. Before we hop into the conversation and dive deep, if you like my videos, go to the description so you can click the top link and book a free 30-minute coaching call with me so I can help you out on your journey and help you out with your mental health, your fitness, your dating, whatever you need help with, I'm here for you. Now that we got that out of the way, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Henry Gallardo, but we'll know him as Chato. Let's do the outro. And that was my entire conversation with Chato. If you liked our conversation today, click right here so you can listen to my conversation with Kimberly. This used to be my fitness manager, and she coached me and taught me how to be a coach. And I had a conversation with her about fitness, about diet, nutrition, and it was a great vibe that we had. It was a great conversation. So click right here to watch my podcast and listen to with Kimberly. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out. Awesome, Asuma. Cool. Let's fucking go, Asuma. I love you. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. I don't praise you enough. I'll praise you in the videos because I hate texting. I know when I just text so fast, but I just want to let you know that you're the GOAT. You're helping me out so much on this YouTube journey, and I appreciate that. I'm grateful. Thank you. All right, let's go.